What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel for another episode of the Ask Me Anything series. I hope you all had a fantastic weekend. We're finally back on schedule after this series. Last couple episodes came out on a Tuesday and a Wednesday. As always, we have a ton of fantastic questions this week, so I want to give a huge thanks to all of you who took the time to come up with a question and leave it on the post. Even the ones that don't get featured in the video, just know I read every single comment and I appreciate all of you guys. If this is your first time coming across the channel, then be sure to hit that subscribe button if you want more NHL content like this. We're trying to hit 100,000 subscribers in 2023, so every subscription counts. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with the first question from Blues2's King, who says, if both went as projected, which achievements do you find more impressive, McDavid's season or Boston's season? This is a really good question. Right now, Connor McDavid is on pace for 155 points, which would be the most points we've seen a player put up in a single season since Mario Lemieux put up 161 in 95-96. It would also make McDavid just the sixth player in NHL history to score 150 plus points in a season. He's having a historic year without a doubt, but if the Boston Bruins do wind up setting the single season wins record and the single season points record, I think I'm gonna have to go with them, because that would literally make the Boston Bruins the greatest regular season team in NHL history. And that's not taking anything away from Connor McDavid. I really don't think there is a wrong answer to this question. The fact we're seeing McDavid score at this pace and Boston win at this pace in the same season, it's pretty crazy. It's been a really entertaining regular season this year. Moving along now to the next question. This one comes from RC the King, who says, what do you make of the Penguins' recent run of games, riding the ship, or just another streaky performance? And also really appreciate the support. I can see why Penguins fans might be a little bit skeptical about this recent run the team is having because of how streaky they have been this season. Lots of ups and downs, but based off of their last 10 games, I'm gonna go with riding the ship. They're getting hot at the right time. It seems like every year, if there's any question on if the Penguins are gonna make the postseason or not, they go on a run like this and they get it done. This is a well-coached team, a well-led team with veterans like Chris Letang, Evgeny Malkin, and Sidney Crosby, and it's not like it's just those three players carrying the team either. They're getting timely performances from both Tristan Jarry and Casey DeSmith. Jason Zucker looks probably the best he's ever looked in a Penguins uniform. I believe he has 9 goals in his last 9 games. I definitely have my concerns still about the Penguins' bottom 6 and their blue line, but as far as making the playoffs go, I think they're going to get in this year and extend that playoff streak for sure. The next question we have comes from Eric Hallett, who says, what do you think of the NHL implementing a new instigation penalty rule for players fighting after a clean hit? Do you think it would help, or do you think players should be allowed to take certain matters into their own hands? And also really appreciate the support. This is a very interesting question. I'm somebody who thinks fighting belongs in the NHL. I think it has a place in the game, but I also do think that there is way too many fights after clean hits. On the surface, I think this sounds like a really good idea, but I feel like it would get complicated very quickly. Say if there's one of those borderline hits where half of the people think that it's clean and then half of the people think it's dirty, and then if someone goes and fights the player who laid the hit, and then that player gets an instigating penalty for quote-unquote fighting after a clean hit, but half of people think it was a dirty hit, right? Like, you see where this could get pretty confusing. Moving along now, this next question comes from Haggles Bagels, who says, as the regular season winds down, has there been any prospects around the league that have caught your eye or drastically improved? And also really appreciate the kind words. There's one player that jumped in my mind right away, and this player isn't a prospect. It's his 3rd NHL season now, but the difference from this season to his rookie season especially, but even last year, is night and day, and that player is Tim Stützle of the Ottawa Senators. He's really became the first player from that 2020 draft class to break out into a legit superstar. Stützle is a player that's obviously always had the skill, and you could see that in his rookie and sophomore seasons, but he's really put it all together this year. His confidence is at an all-time high. He's leading the Senators in points currently with 71. Just such a dynamic player. He's a true game breaker. His speed and his elusiveness when he's carrying the puck through the neutral zone, he's able to back off defenses so much, and he just opens the game up for him and his line mates. It's looking like Tim Stützle is going to be the kind of player that year in and year out is pushing 100 points, and I really didn't think he'd be able to get to this level this quickly. This next question comes from Yaro Slavik. Hopefully I said that properly, but the question is, will you be doing a playoff bracket prediction soon once the playoffs come around? And also really appreciate the support. So yes, that is definitely something I will be doing. I believe I've done this like every year I've had this channel where I've uploaded consistently, so it's going to be no different this year. Probably the first day after the regular season ends, ends, I will release that bracket video. And usually what I like to do as well with the NHL.com's bracket challenge, I like to make a league for the channel, a league for you guys to join and submit your bracket to, so keep an eye out for that. Obviously, more information on that will come once I post my predictions video. The next question we have comes from Austin, who says, what are your thoughts about players with 7+ years in the NHL with no playoff experience like Bertuzzi, McCabe, etc. headed into the playoffs? Also, both big trade pieces. Do you think they'll have a good or bad first appearances after playing nearly a decade each and never making it before? I definitely wouldn't worry about guys heading into their first NHL postseason, especially guys that have been in the league as long as players like Bertuzzi and like Jake McCabe. Yeah, obviously playoff hockey is a little bit different. The intensity is much higher. Obviously the stakes are higher, but at the end of the day, these guys just got to go out there and do what they've done for their whole lives and their whole NHL careers, and that is perform at a high level. If they stay true to their game, stick to what got them to this point, I think they're going to do just fine. And players like McCabe and Bertuzzi especially, I feel like their games are actually perfectly suited for playoff hockey. I think they're both going to do just fine. And even though NHL playoff hockey is probably the highest and most intense level of hockey in the world, these guys have played playoff hockey before at various different levels. Tyler Bertuzzi, for an example, he was probably Grand Rapids' best player in their playoff run when they won the Calder Cup in, I believe it was 2015 or 2016 maybe. Moving along now, this next question comes from Bexy93, who says, with the regular season nearing its end, Claude Giroux's first season with the Sens is also coming to an end. At the moment, he's at exactly a point per game. He also seems to fit in with the team really nicely, and his experience could be crucial in making it out of the current slump and continuing the playoff push. How do you rate the deal and Giroux's performance 66 games into the season? I feel like it's hard to imagine Claude Giroux's first season as a Senator going any better than how it's gone so far. He's really turned out to be almost the perfect veteran to mix in with this young group of forwards. First off, he's somebody who really wanted to be there. We know he wanted to play for the Ottawa Senators. When Ottawa signed Giroux to this contract, there was definitely a little bit of criticism, committing almost like $20 million over the next 3 seasons to a guy who would be carrying 35 this year. And not only has Claude Giroux lived up to this deal, I would say he's exceeded it. $6.5 million for the way Giroux has played this season in Ottawa looks like an absolute bargain. He's having probably a top 5 season of his career at age 35, and obviously Claude Giroux has had some incredible seasons in the NHL where he's been a Hart Trophy candidate before. The next question we have comes from James Sweeney, who says, what do you think the Flyers should do? Should they sell Provy, TK, Hayes, Hart, Coots, and others over the summer come draft time, or continue on with what they have? I definitely feel like it's time for the Flyers to embrace a full-on rebuild, sell off a lot of the guys that you just mentioned, and really stockpile future assets, young prospects, draft picks. The Flyers are a team that I don't think are just a couple little moves away from getting back to being a playoff contender. This is a really bad team right now, and I would say they're in the bottom half of the league in terms of their prospect pool. If they don't blow it up now, if they try to continue year after year to be competitive, then I think there's a chance that this rebuild could last a very long time. The quicker you embrace it, I feel like the quicker you'll come out of it, and who knows, maybe with them going from Chuck Fletcher to Danny Briere now as the interim GM signals that they're going to go in a different direction. The next question we have comes from Nick, who says, of all the teams that definitely are not tanking, like Chicago, Arizona, San Jose, etc., which do you think has a chance to be competitive the quickest, and which do you think is set up for the best success? Also, really appreciate the support. I'm glad to hear that. I think the obvious answer here is whoever gets the first overall pick, because I believe, and I'm pretty sure everybody believes, Connor Bedard is going to be a franchise-altering player. If you get a guy like that, then it's probably going to streamline the rebuilding process. But if we're not factoring in this upcoming draft and we're just looking at what those organizations have right now, of the teams you mentioned, honestly, I feel like it's Arizona. Is it annoying what they're doing, acquiring guys that are basically retired just to get to the cap floor? Yes, but there is no doubt that Arizona has set themselves up to have a ton of success in the future. 22 draft picks in the first 3 rounds of the next 3 NHL drafts. There's no way they don't hit on at least 4 or 5 of those picks. And you look at prospects they already have in their system. I think Logan Cooley is going to be a star. I'm a big fan of Dylan Guenther, and even guys on the roster like Barrett Hayton is starting to figure it out. His last 20 games or so, he's been lights out. Matthias Maselli has had a great rookie season. He's looking like a steal. And then you also have the guys that have been there a while, like Clayton Keller and Nick Schmaltz have been great this year. Lawson Krause as well. They already have the makings of a fantastic young core, and you factor in all the high-end prospects they're going to add to that over the next year or two. They obviously have a crazy amount of cap space, which makes them very flexible as well and gives them a lot of options. I think Arizona is definitely a lot further along in their rebuilding process than teams like you mentioned, like San Jose and Chicago. Moving on now, this next question comes from Joe, who says, I know it's not hockey related, but what's your favorite food? And also really appreciate the support. I like to mix in random questions like this here and there. I'm a big chicken guy. Me and my buddies go out for chicken wings like probably at least once a week, so I would say chicken wings are definitely up there, and I'm definitely a bone-in kind of guy. Boneless wings are literally just chicken nuggets, which are also good, don't get me wrong, but I prefer chicken wings. I like spaghetti as well. Tacos got to be up there as well. Beef or chicken tacos, either one I think is fantastic. So I would say those are probably my top three: chicken wings, spaghetti, and tacos in no particular order, but I'm interested to hear what your guys' favorite food is, so be sure to let me know down below in the comments. The next question we have comes from Lance B, who says, if the season ended today, March 13th, which playoff series would you be most excited to watch? I think I'm going to have to go with the 2-3 matchup in the Metro Division, the New Jersey Devils versus the New York Rangers. Even before the trade deadline, I think this would have been an unreal series to watch, but now you factor in Timo Meier on New Jersey, Patrick Kane and Vladimir Tarasenko on the Rangers. There's just so much offensive firepower between these two teams. Both have incredibly passionate fan bases. Obviously, there's a rivalry there. These two teams are basically right next to each other, and the Devils are a really fun, young, up-and-coming team who are just now finally entering their contention window. Their rebuild is over. I always think it's fun to see how teams fare when they finally get back into the playoffs, so I'm really excited for this series because it does look like it's going to happen. And now for the final question of this week's episode, this one comes from Nick, who says, what are your thoughts on the 2023 free agents? Also, really appreciate the support. I'm glad you like the videos. It's definitely not a star-studded free agent class coming up, especially now that guys like Larkin and Pastrnak and Horvat have all signed extensions. Usually every offseason, there's one key guy, there's one big name free agent that is like kind of ahead of the rest of the class. Last year, or most recent summer, obviously Johnny Gaudreau. The year before that, there was Dougie Hamilton. Then the year before that, I would think it was Alex Pietrangelo. Then there was like Panarin, John Tavares. In 2023, there's not really a guy on that level. There's still some good players for sure, but like honestly, if I had to guess, I don't even know who's going to get like the biggest contract or the highest AAV. Maybe somebody like Max Pacioretty, but coming off of the injuries, is there going to be a team willing to give him a bunch of money? I don't know. I'm interested to hear what you guys think. Who do you think is going to get the biggest contract in the summer as a UFA? One thing I am really hoping for though is, since there isn't going to be, superstars available on the UFA market, could that lead to maybe some GMs taking risks and trying to sign players to offer sheets? I think that would be a lot of fun. But that is going to wrap up this week's episode of the Ask Me Anything series. Again, thank you so much to everybody for the awesome questions this week. If you guys enjoyed and you want to see another episode next Monday, then be sure to leave this video a like. That is the best way to show your support. And if this was your first time checking out the channel and you want more NHL content just like this all year long, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll talk to you all soon.